So it's my personal opinion that most financial advice is designed for people who want to be comfortable, not free. The 20% rule isn't just conservative; it might be costing you your future. And you hear lower ones. You hear like 15%. If you're a fan of the Money Guy show, you might hear 25%. Either way, I think it's too conservative when you're young and you're just starting. Time in the market is the one asset that nobody can give you back. The people who actually retired early, they went hard and early. They seriously went really hard when they were just starting out. And there's good reason for that. So the problem with people is that they're not naturally good at investing. Most will pull out before they ever make anything meaningful of it. Like, it's a widely known thing. This is not a controversial thing to say. People, they're their own worst enemy when it comes to broad market index fund investing, the safest play that you can possibly make when you're going the brokerage route. The solution isn't to rely on discipline forever, it's to make discipline irrelevant. So that leads nicely into the next thing I want to speak about, and this is just an example that will really demonstrate exactly what I'm trying to get at here. Two people, same starting point, both stop investing early. Person A invests $60,000 aggressively over just 2 years and then never touches it again. Person B invests 20% of their 65k salary, and that'll be 13k a year for 5 years, and then stops. At 8% returns over 32 years, person A has $627,910, while person B has $609,216. Person A put in less time, roughly the same money, and came out ahead. And not only that, they were able to do it in just 2 years. Now here's what the critics will say. But if you invest 20% for all 30 years, you'd have 1.59 million. That's true. But that assumes perfect discipline for all 3 decades, and also very, very beneficial and nice cruisy life circumstances as well. Most people do not get that. If you get that, you are an extreme outlier. Life has a way of just coming at you with a bunch of bullshit, and it's just unlikely that it's going to play out that way. But the aggressive investor who quits is still fine because they've put in so much money, they've front-loaded so much money that even if they stop, they will be okay. But the passive investor who quits, they're in the same boat. Like, they never had the option to quit early. They rely on a strategy that forces them to invest with discipline over a long period of time. And you might say 5 years versus 2. Like, that's not a huge difference. I would beg to differ. In this day and age with our generation, for someone to stick to anything for like a year or 2 is phenomenal. Like, I manage a gym. I see this day in and day out. People come in with good intentions and like, oh, I'll do something easy. I'll come in, even if it's just 5-10 minutes, I'll just make it in and I'll just do a little bit, 4 or 5 days a week. And then they quit after like a month, if that. So let me tell you, when I tell you this shit doesn't play out the way these other financial YouTubers and advice givers say, like, it doesn't look like that in real life. Especially with the young generation coming up, and with my generation as well, Gen Z. It's just not how it's going to play out for a lot of people. So you need to utilize your youth. You have motivation right now. Use it before life dilutes it. Your cost of living is likely the lowest it will ever be. No mortgage, no kids, no major obligations, and this window closes way faster than you think. I have friends all around me. They lived with their parents for like a year or 2 after high school, and then they fuck off, get a mortgage, and then before you know it, they have kids, and this all occurs within the span of like 4 or 5 years. So that window seriously closes really fast. It's also worth noting that in the current society that we live in, like, consumerism is shoved down our throats all the time. So it takes a lot of conscious and subconscious effort just to not indulge in things that are not completely unnecessary. Like, everything in day-to-day life is meant to be rapid, immediately stimulating. Like, there's just zero delayed gratification. It's all instant gratification. Like, to maintain a disciplined investing regimen over decades in this world, in the West at least, is a very tall order. So I think it's honestly more doable just to, lock away a bunch of money, um, very quickly, and just utilize discipline and sheer will and positive, favorable circumstances while you can, while you are young, because like not only like we all know those first few years are by far disproportionately more important than the later ones. Like the sooner you start, the better. Like the way money multiplies over the course of years is insane. So as long as you maximally utilize your youth and the the passion for investing that you have right now and for securing your future, and ensure that your future is locked down no matter what, you just like invest a shitload. Even at that point, you can just never touch it again. All right, you never even have to think about it again. Every time you have a thought about touching the money, you just immediately shut that shit down. And that's all you have to do. Like, you don't have to make the decision to sacrifice more. You just have to earn the right not to be sacrificing into your future, into investments. I'm not saying the whole 15-20% method for 30-40 years won't work. It definitely does. It's definitely possible. I'm just saying, like, I would rather not leave it up to chance. And I think you're probably a little bit crazy to leave it up to chance as well. And I'm not saying that, like, if you can just drop everything and start investing as aggressively as possible. But, if you do have debts, if you have other financial obligations, like, get that shit in order as fast as possible so that you can start investing as aggressively as possible. Get your emergency fund sorted, get your debts taken care of, get everything squared away. Make sure you have what you need, first of all, and then just fucking send it, man. Because it's not just going to be like the mandatory expenses that life imposes on you. It's more than that. It's not just things like a mortgage or a wife, kids that are kind of optional. But it's in what sense is it really optional? How else are we going to achieve eudaimonia, if you want to get philosophical, all that sort of shit? But there are things that are absolutely not really optional for a lot of us. Like if a loved one gets really sick and they need financial assistance, or you need to put your main job on the back burner so that you can take care of a person. There's a lot of shit that can go wrong in life. Your house could get fucking infested with termites. That's 15 grand. Your car could break down. Maybe the transmission goes. That's 10, 15 grand right there too. If you're young, that's ruinous. It can be seriously devastating even when you've, been adulting for some time and you have a little bit of a nest egg. It can still, life has a way of taking you the fuck out. So yeah, aggressive investing early on. If you can manage it, do it. Absolutely fucking do it. So let me just define like what exactly aggressive actually means in this context. Strip expenses back to what you genuinely need, not what is comfortable, but what you need. I'm talking bare essentials. And then invest everything above that. Okay? So for most young people, that is north of 40 to 50%. If you're really lucky and if you're living with your parents and you don't even have to pay rent to them, you could be looking 60, 70, even more % of your take-home pay invested. I'm serious. It is doable and it is fucking worth it. Get a cheaper car, slower social life, less eating out, all that sort of shit. Just do it for now. Frame it as sacrifice with a return, not punishment. You're not trying to live like a monk for no reason at all. It is very future oriented, and it's a conscious sacrifice. And you can still live a lot of life while investing 50% of your income or more. Because I'm doing it. I still go away for trips and I travel and I see concerts and I go down, take long trips and holidays and that sort of shit. I can still do that and be perfectly fine and happy. I've spent like when I was a kid and teenager accruing like different technologies and presents and video games and shit. I've got a lot to keep me going, and Lord knows there's a lot of ways to acquire entertainment media for free these days. So you really don't need a lot. And like the minimalism sort of mindset is something that you can absolutely cultivate with time as well. It's not something you have to do all at once, but it's something you can learn, and a way of appreciating life in its most minimal form that can really endure for the rest of your life as well if you can cultivate it effectively enough. So that sets you up nicely anyway for less aggressive investing in the future after you've had your really aggressive period as well. So the goal is not to invest aggressively forever. Once your portfolio, left completely alone at 8% returns, would grow to support your retirement lifestyle by your target age, then you're done with the hard part. And that is not arbitrary. The math tells you when you have earned it. Then you can drop to 20% or stop entirely. It no longer matters. Just go hard. Go really, really hard right now while you can afford to, while you have the energy for it, and your future self will thank you for it. It's as simple as that. Most finance channels, they'll steer you away from this approach. They won't advocate for this sort of thing. They'll encourage something more responsible, broadly speaking. Whatever that means, they'll be like, just 20%, 25% for 30, 40 years, you'll be a millionaire, you'll be fine. That is just a gross oversimplification of what life tends to look like for most of us. But if you listen carefully to how they actually got to where they're at, most of them didn't even do it that way. Most of them genuinely did invest really aggressively when they were starting out. When you're starting out at this sort of thing when you're young, you have dreams and aspirations of retiring a multi-millionaire, retiring really young, 30, 40, even 50 is still pretty early. And you have these dreams and you have this motivation. Why would you not utilize it? Why would you just let that decay? You gotta use that while you have it, because it will go away. Motivation is a temporary state. Discipline also is usually a really fickle thing for the vast majority of people, which is another rationale for why I'm making this video. But yeah, most of them started really aggressive. And you see this in the lifting community as well. Like, you'll see jacked lifting channels, and they'll pretend it was things like mind-muscle connection and cable flies and highly stable exercises that built their physique. But really, if you go back and look at the videos of them when they were training, when they were actually on the come-up, like, they were doing heavy compound lifting and like typical powerlifting, power building, type splits. Like, it's the same sort of thing here. Follow what actually made these people wealthy, not what they claimed did. Okay, that's what's actually going to get you there. And it's a really good feeling when you do the math and you figure out what that magical number is, where if you just left it alone after that, you would be okay. You could do whatever you want with your money from then on out, as long as it wasn't going to be like, if you're going to finance a car at fucking some exorbitant amount, like say 5%, 8%, whatever, APY, something like that, that could, at that point, compound interest is working in the opposite direction, working against you. You could still fuck up, but it's way less likely. All you have to do is put your money in, get it to that magical number where if you leave it alone, it'll be fine. And then at that point, all you have to do, you can forget about the money. And then at that point, like, there's not really much discipline involved at all. So yeah, for these reasons, I think this method of going about investing when you're young, it's highly underrated, and it's definitely worth considering if you're like me and you're really passionate and you want to be investing aggressively, but there's just no voices in the community that are like really in favor of it. There's people that don't. There are some voices in the investing community, the finance community, that won't necessarily dissuade you from doing this, but they don't really promote it. They don't really emphasize the benefits of it for young people or for people just starting out. And I think that's kind of tragic. But yeah, I hope you guys are doing well, and hopefully you'll get some enjoyment or value from this, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.